What's up? It's Thursday, December 8th. The last month of the year, 25 days left until 2025. Can't believe it's already here. I hope that Thanksgiving was good for you. If you celebrated it, if you live in the United States, you probably did. Or if you're from the United States, you probably did. But if not, you didn't. And that's okay too. But if you did, I hope it was good. I hope the week off or the days off, you were able to rest, relax, and rejuvenate yourself with those days off. A lot has happened. I'm not going to go back too far and talk about stuff that's already happened because it's done. But there are a few things that are huge. University of Oklahoma Sooners hired an offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle from Washington State University. He is a great offensive coordinator. He's young. He had a great quarterback at Washington State this year. I'm not sure if there's enough history to be able to tell if he's going to be really good or not at OU. That's such a different beast going from Washington State, who really didn't play a tough schedule this year. I think they were somewhere in the 80s is the hardest strength of schedule, like the 80th, 85th hardest schedule in the country. So they didn't really play anybody, but still doesn't mean he can't coach, obviously. I think Washington State was in the top 10 in offense this year. I can't remember if it was scoring or yardage or points per game, but I guess that would be scoring, offensive scoring. But that is a big get, I think, for OU. Brent Venables went young. The good news is he has some NCAA experience in a top program or two, so that's good. Unlike what Mike Gundy does at Oklahoma State, where he hires a defensive coordinator from who knows where, and now he's fired after 2 seasons, which should be, and the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State. But I know I just skipped from OU to OSU, but big get for OU. I think it'll be good for him. Any change, I think, is good, and I think from what I've seen as far as stats go and that kind of thing, that Ben Arbuckle can coach a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what offensive coaches stick around, who they keep. I know Venables said yesterday they were keeping, it looked like he said everybody on the offensive side of the ball as far as staff goes, which are they keeping them through the bowl game? Are they keeping them, I don't know, for next season? I don't know what's happening there, but we'll see. We will see. Obviously, OU still has a bowl game. Not sure who they will play. Not sure who they will play yet. But I hope it's USC or Nebraska. Those teams are both 6-6. Against Nebraska is fun just because of that rivalry that was there in the Big 8 and the Big 12. It's not like OU Texas, but it's still a big rivalry as far as college football goes. At least it was. And so that would be fun. And then also, obviously, to see OU versus USC in a bowl game would just be delightful. I want to see Lincoln Riley coach his old team. I think that would be super fun and theatrical and dramatic and hilarious all at the same time. So we'll see. Bowls, there's been a few bowl games announced, but they're all like teams that shouldn't even be in bowl games. Off the topic, but on the topic, there's too many bowl games. In my opinion, a team goes 6-6 and you're in a bowl game. I think that's stupid. I think you should have at least 8 wins to get in a bowl game. But then again, we would have less bowl games and football season would be over sooner. So depends on what you're looking for and what you want. But I think 8 wins, you get in a bowl game. Under 8, you stay home because you suck. Just my opinion, obviously. But that's that for OU. We'll see what happens. Ben Arbuckle, now the offensive coordinator at OU. And then, like I mentioned with Oklahoma State, firing both their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. Casey Dunn, offensive coordinator, Brian Nardo, defensive coordinator, which, no offense to him, and he got put in a tough position. Nardo did as defensive coordinator, coming from a tiny school that nobody knows, nobody's heard of, to then come coach in the Big 12 at a program that's been very successful over the last 20 years. And that's a tough position to be put in, but he never should have been put in that position. That was a horrible hire. Probably Gundy's worst hire ever. Was there another hire that was that bad? I don't know. but something needed to change. And I had tweeted out that, like, if there wasn't a change at coordinators, then it might be time to question Gundy being the head coach. And I am not for firing Mike Gundy at all. He's had one bad season in 20 years. And Oklahoma State has been horrible until Les Miles kind of started turning it around in the early 2000s, and then Gundy taking over. And I can't complain. One bad season is not worth firing, in my opinion, especially at Oklahoma State, and especially a guy who has given everything to Oklahoma State as a head coach. He played there. He's from Oklahoma. And so I definitely not on the side that Gundy needs to be fired yet. Who knows? I think next year is going to be a big test, bringing in two coordinators. I mean, you went 0-9 this season in the Big 12. You did win one game in the Big 12 this season. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens with that. Should have turned my phone off. Next season at Oklahoma State. But something had to change. Something needed to be done. So now the question is, though, who does Oklahoma State go after? Because obviously we are not a school like OU, an SEC school, or even some other Big 12 schools that have a lot more money than we do. And so are they going to have to restructure Gundy's contract to pay coordinators a little bit more? Like, what happens there? I don't know. Of course, there's a dream list of coordinators you want. But, I mean, first off, are they even available? Second off, would they come to Stillwater? Like, nobody's leaving an SEC school to come to Stillwater to be a coordinator, I don't think. Could be wrong, depending on what school in the SEC. I mean, maybe one of the bottom, 4 or 5, you might leave to come to Oklahoma State, but nobody in any conference in the top half of the top schools are going to leave on their own to come to Stillwater. And so where do you go from there? And so there's some names being floated around. They're all rumors, right? Like Boise State's offensive coordinator, Rice, their defensive coordinator. Like, who do you go after? I mean, my dream guy to be in Stillwater as an coordinator or head coach, if Gundy's not the head coach, is Zach Robinson. Former quarterback, but he's done really well in the NFL as a coach. And so, right now he's offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. That's a huge gig. And are you going to leave that to coach college football? I mean, and maybe the only place that he would leave the NFL for would be Oklahoma State, because where he went to school and played quarterback and was a great quarterback, dual threat. It was amazing. And so what does that look like? Would he be a guy that would leave the NFL? Like, with NIL and recruiting and all that nonsense, I mean, you would have to absolutely love recruiting to leave the NFL to come to college to do the same job. So I don't know if that would even be reasonable or a possibility, but that's like my dream candidate for offense. When we had Jim Knowles, who left Oklahoma State as the defensive coordinator to go to Ohio State, that was a huge loss, but I don't blame him, and we couldn't pay him. But to leave Oklahoma State to go to Ohio State, pretty sure most people would take that gig if they didn't have ties to Oklahoma State or Oklahoma for that matter. Like, why wouldn't you leave to go to Ohio State or another big school like that? And so I don't know. Like I said, I think you're going to have to find a guy from a smaller school or a lesser school in a huge conference. But obviously the pet project of Gundy going after a coordinator from whatever division he came from, that's just not feasible. I want somebody who has coached in Division I. I know it's not called Division I, but FCS, FBS. I get them all confused now. I just call it Division I still. Power 5 conference. I want a guy from there to coach defense or offense for that matter. I don't want some guy who came from some small college in the East Coast or whatever. And I think we learned our lesson with that. You just got to move on. And so we'll see what happens. I hope they hire some guys fast. Signing day was yesterday. And so I think Oklahoma State was I don't know the exact number, but 50 to 75. We were the 58th ranked recruiting class or something like that. It was somewhere around there. And so I know there's a transfer portal and we do okay in the transfer portal. So we'll see what happens there. But I mean, the fact that we even got some signings yesterday and some guys that can play without having an offensive or defensive coordinator, I think that says a lot about Gundy and about Oklahoma State. So I think that's the positive here. One of the positives is with not having coordinators, still signing guys. So that's good for Oklahoma State, but it'll be interesting. I'm ready to see who they hire. Again, I hope it's somebody who has experience coaching at a high level, not a lower level, because that's not what Oklahoma State needs. And again, the money thing, but got to figure it out. So that's that. That's just how it goes in Oklahoma for football. Basketball, couple surprises when I say basketball, NBA. I mean, college too, though. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma are both playing much better than they did last year, I think. So that's good. I'm not going to talk much about basketball right now, college basketball, but NBA. Usually I do a Thunder Thursday, but just because I haven't podcasted in a couple weeks, I just wanted to do a few notes here, especially with the big news coming out of Oklahoma. And then now with the NBA Cup, 4 teams from the West, 4 teams from the East advance in the NBA Cup. Oklahoma City takes on Dallas on Tuesday. That's always a fun game, always a fun rivalry. They're so close geographically, and they're both good. I mean, obviously Dallas knocked out Oklahoma City in the playoffs last year, so now with the NBA Cup they're playing each other. I think that's fun. I think Oklahoma State is out for revenge. Oklahoma City is out for revenge against the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Cup. So I am excited to see that game, see how that plays out, because now it's a knockout round. You lose, you're out. And so I'm saying so a lot. We go from there to my biggest surprise in the NBA right now is the Rockets. I think they're second in the West, and they beat Oklahoma City last week. And so they kind of came out of nowhere in some ways. And so it's like saying all the time. And so that's my new replacement for ridiculous. But the Rockets surprised me. I think they kind of surprised everybody in the NBA. And I think they're still let's see here, that they're still in second place in the West, unless Oklahoma City's 16-5. Houston is 15-7. So Oklahoma City is a game and a half ahead of the Rockets, but that's interesting. And then the other surprise the other way, two, Minnesota, 11-10. I'm not sure what happened there. I mean, they did trade, Karl Anthony Towns, so that was a big loss, I think. And so that's a surprise. And then the Lakers, which I'm not surprised. Father Time is finally catching up to LeBron. It's funny, when he started out the season, I was like, oh my gosh, I've not seen, LeBron hasn't played this good in the last 2 years. And now, how many games are we in for the Lakers? 22 games in. They're 12-10. Last year, I think at this time, they were a little bit better. Not much at this time, maybe 14-8, 13-9, somewhere around there. Not a whole lot better, but I don't know. I mean, I think the blame goes to, the players. Like Anthony Davis, I don't know what happened to him in the last 6 games. He's fallen off. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in La La Land with the Lakers. I mean, JJ Redick, obviously that was a gamble, a brilliant basketball mind, but no head coaching experience, no coaching experience for the most part, right? So that's a risk you take. Thought maybe it might pay off, but as of right now, it's definitely not. And so that blame goes to him too. But other players also have to take responsibility because he's not out on the floor. And so, man, I got some stuff to work on here. But those are the biggest surprises. I mean, I was surprised by Philadelphia early on, but they're 5-15. 76ers are so bad. So bad. But we do, like I said, the NBA Cup next week. We only have the schedule up for that? Yeah, there we go. So the Magic play the Bucks, the Mavericks play the Thunder, Hawks play the Knicks, Warriors play the Rockets. Those should be some good games. Knicks Hawks, always a good rivalry. Thunder Mavs, good rivalry. Magic Bucks, I guess. Both those teams, they're decent. And then Warriors Rockets. And I think the Warriors are right behind the Rockets in the standings. So, you've got Oklahoma City, Houston, Dallas, Memphis, Phoenix, Golden State are the top 6 in the West. I didn't realize that Memphis was up there at 14-8, 2.5 games back. So a lot happening in sports, a lot happening in the NFL also, which I didn't even talk about. And so, like, just a fun season. If you've been watching the NFL, it's been a fun season just to see, like, the Broncos turn things around kind of this season with a rookie quarterback. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. And so I hate to see, like, the 49ers, just all the injuries. I don't know why it's just happening to them. I mean, I know there's other injuries in the league, like the brutal hit that Trevor Lawrence took. And now that he's on IR, going to miss probably the rest of the season, I think, right? And you've got other injuries, but man, the 49ers have just taken a beating. So there you have it. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. This was kind of just thrown together, but I hope it made sense. I hope you got something out of it. I also just wanted to talk about my opinions on those things I talked about. See ya.